It was a quiet evening in a small New York café, the kind hidden from time. No influencers posed in the corners, no speakers rattled with bass. Instead, the soft clink of porcelain cups, the creak of aged floorboards, and the scent of French roast blended with the weight of old books lined across dusty shelves. Outside, the city howled with neon urgency, but inside it was as though time had folded in on itself. And at a dimly lit corner table sat two men, figures out of place and time, yet somehow perfectly at home. One man looked like a ghost from the 19th century, tall and sharp-featured, his thick moustache casting shadows over a solemn mouth. He wore a black coat as if mourning the modern world, and his eyes, fierce, intelligent, exhausted, betrayed a man who had thought too much and felt even more. This was Friedrich Nietzsche, philosopher of will, prophet of nihilism, and reluctant romantic. Across from him sat a quieter figure. He wore no shoes, only sandals. His robe was simple linen. But his presence was radiant, almost unreal. His eyes did not pierce, they embraced. They didn't shine with judgment, but with a love deeper than comprehension. This was Jesus of Nazareth, carpenter, teacher, redeemer, and witness to the souls of every age. Between them sat two untouched espressos. They had come to speak of something neither man could escape, no matter the century: love. Nietzsche, ever the skeptic, had asked why Jesus had chosen this century for such a meeting. What was it about this moment in time, this era saturated in irony and selfies, that made it worth discussing love? Jesus, as always, had chosen his moment carefully. He saw in the 21st century a paradox, a world that both idolized love and abandoned it, a place where people longed for connection but hid behind avatars, where attention was confused with affection, and where bodies were shared more quickly than hearts. Nietzsche, unsurprisingly, found the state of things tragic, but not surprising. To him, modern relationships had become performance. Love was gamified, he thought. Swipes had replaced serendipity. Desire had been quantified. Dating had become shopping, and each profile a curated advertisement. People, he believed, were lonelier than ever, drowning in options, starving for meaning. Jesus listened, not to argue, but to understand. He acknowledged the pain Nietzsche saw, but reminded him that pain had always been part of love. For Nietzsche, love was a contract with suffering. If betrayal didn't come, then illness, distance, or death would. No one loved and left unscathed. But Jesus, ever hopeful, countered with the reminder that even amidst thorns, there was always the rose. Love, real love, had never been pain-free, but neither had it ever lost its power. In Jesus' view, the modern age was not devoid of love, but desperate for it. Lust had become intimacy, and validation had become affection. But behind the filters and fear, he still saw hope. People still searched, even if they no longer knew what they were searching for. Nietzsche agreed. The philosopher saw the dopamine addiction, the desperate hunger for likes and validation. But even so, there was something tragic in the attempt. It revealed a deeper longing, something eternal. Jesus and Nietzsche weren't arguing. They were harmonizing dissonance. One spoke in warnings, the other in invitations. To love in this age, Jesus believed, was an act of rebellion. In a culture obsessed with self-image, to truly see another person unfiltered, vulnerable, unguarded, was sacred. And to let oneself be seen was even more radical. For Nietzsche, the question became practical. How does one survive modern relationships when betrayal, ghosting, and narcissism are commonplace? How does love thrive when trust feels like a luxury? Jesus answered not with rules, but with principles, love without ownership, compassion without dependency. He warned against mistaking possession for partnership. He offered this wisdom: many say you're mine, but few say I'm here with you. One binds, the other liberates. Nietzsche, often critical of shallow sentimentality, found something admirable in this. He had once said, "Become who you are." Jesus echoed that, but added, "Heal who you are." To him, love required wholeness. Without it, relationships turned into rescue missions, not unions. They weren't preaching to each other, they were building a bridge, brick by brick. Nietzsche, ever the realist, brought up desire, the raw hunger of modern lust. Sex was no longer sacred. It had become transaction. The body a toy, the soul optional. Jesus didn't recoil. Instead, he offered clarity. Desire, he said, wasn't sin. But when used to replace intimacy, it devours. Lust without love was fire without wood. It burned but did not warm. Honesty, not chastity, was Jesus' call. If one could not cherish the soul, one should not consume the body. Every touch, he believed, whispered to the heart. And today, far too many people were screaming without listening. Across the café, a young couple sat, barely speaking. The girl laughed, but nervously. The boy stared at his phone. Neither was truly there. Both were pretending not to be afraid. Jesus saw their yearning. Nietzsche saw their fear. The conversation turned inward. The philosopher, who had studied love but rarely surrendered to it, was asked if he had ever truly been in love. He had, once. She was brilliant, brave, but he demanded she orbit his intellect, not his heart. He had loved her like a concept, not a companion, and in doing so, lost her. Jesus understood. He had loved the entire world, and the world had crucified him. Still, he loved. Still, he believed. Nietzsche found that foolish, yet somehow admirable. What, he asked, would Jesus do if he truly walked among us today? Jesus' answer was simple. He would remind people that love is not a feeling but a choice, a discipline, a dying to ego and a rising in grace. Nietzsche added his own note. Love without growth, he warned, becomes slavery. Choose someone who sharpens you, who burns away cowardice, not just someone who soothes. The two men, so often placed at odds in the minds of scholars, found in each other not contradiction, but complement. Kind but not coddling, strong but not cruel, that, they agreed, was love. Then Jesus noticed someone outside, a homeless man clutching a cardboard sign. It read, "I just want someone to see me." That, he said, was the modern heart in its rawest form. Beneath every dating profile, beneath every text and emoji, lay that same question, "Do you see me?" Not the curated version, not the highlight reel, but the trembling, raw, uncertain self. Nietzsche, standing now beside Jesus, added the bitter truth. Most people respond with, "Only if you entertain me." Together they stepped into the cold city night. They passed strangers hunched over glowing screens, headphones in, hearts out. But for a moment, brief eternal, the philosopher and the carpenter walked as one. Jesus placed a hand on Nietzsche's shoulder. He still saw light in the windows of the soul, candles flickering in dark rooms, hope stubborn as ever. Nietzsche, who had seen too much to hope easily, simply said, "You always were the optimist." Jesus laughed, the kind of laugh that warms winter air. Nietzsche didn't laugh, but he did smile, because in that moment even he believed in the madness of love. Later that night, the waitress cleaned their table. The espressos were cold, untouched. But on the table lay a napkin scrawled in two distinct hands. It read, "To love in this age, be honest, be brave, be kind, demand truth, offer grace, choose presence. Love is not dead, but it is waiting. J and F."